Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the GET podcast. And for this episode, our topic is going to be games and social media. And we apologize for the delay on this episode. We were planning on recording last week, but then, the heavy storm hit us and it knocked out our power, ruined our recording. So we unfortunately had to push it back a few days, but now we're here and we're going to get this up as quick as we can. So with social media has been growing a lot, and a lot of developers have been showing up on Twitter more often now. Whether it be like just they'll put up a character, an advertisement, or such things like that. Especially like the League of Legends crew, they've been doing a lot. Like you guys remember when Seraphine came out like a year ago now? Right, it's been a year, right?
Right, you're totally right about that one.
Around November, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
November
but
released.
it was like yeah, but you know what? It was a bit before November actually though.
Oh, she
Because
popped up in June.
right, because you know what? Because like the way Riot Games does a lot of their like here's a new character highlight is that they would usually like hint through leaks and stuff on social media, and then a lot of like the content creators would pick up on it, and then they are gonna like distribute the span of a network essentially to the rest of the player base about what the new character might be or the new patches.
Like those 10-minute videos
Right.
with the clickbait. Oh my
Ex-
god, is that a
exact.
new lead character?
Exactly. But with those two, it's also like they also do it on like PTR. So like eventually when the character does come out in some sense in some form, they'll put it on like the private test realms or the private test recording like gaming parts that they let you as the player play the character and experience new stuff. But in the case with Seraphine, it was entirely different because they wanted to release her not through um the gameplay necessarily.
To the
but they
like
wanted
like actually just the character herself.
But
Like
they wanted to make the character more or less like a part of like the real life world, and that's what they did by making a Twitter account with her. So they made an entire social media page on her as the character. And it was just like a normal person living their life and like being an influencer essentially. And eventually then she got released, and that's when people like started like getting the rest of the actual gameplay footage for her. But before it was I think like 2 months of build up, I think. Right?
yeah,
Something like that.
there was a lot of build up because I remember.
So it started in June, and then KDA's comeback song was The Baddest, which was around August, I believe, and then
Yeah.
KDA premiered All Out in November for Worlds.
Right, exactly.
And then
Especially because that's like the big thing. Like you know what? Like in the case with like her character in game, because she's supposed to be a singer, the whole point was they would get a lot more like hype out of the game, like the character and in the game itself for the probably like for the actual sporting event and everything too, with showcasing her off in this kind of way and like getting a lot of like different like I want to say like groups out of it that like would join in on it because like KDA is like what considered like a Korean like pop
K-pop.
star bit.
Yeah.
It's like a Korean.
Pop
It's a
group.
it's a K-pop kind of group, right? So like her build up from let's say like the American side of the K-pop group, like if she's like supposed to be like the representative of that, and then they throw her in right into the K-pop group. So like now you have people who are like not really maybe K-pop fans, and now they're being like influenced by it because oh I'm about to be joining a new group, right? And it's like her Twitter is being like kind of like blasted with all this information about that, like her like arrival to a K-pop group, and
Yeah.
then she joins it, and now it's like okay, now it's like I gotta watch K-pop, this like K-pop group I've never heard of before, like maybe it's a music group and people love music, so eventually you get hooked on it, and that's really what like kind of like drags you in. Like the idea of like teasing you in almost is like kind of what they want, and a lot of games kind of do that nowadays too. I feel like with um I want to say like the trailers. I feel like they really want to drag you into a lot of like some of the crazy stuff that you'll be playing in game essentially. Because I mean, YouTube is I want to say like a social media like aspect of like what showcases a game or advertises it really well.
Yeah.
And one I wanted to say like the video I saw the other day, and I think who was it that posted it in the group chat that we have? Sean, right? So I think
Yeah.
you posted it in the Discord the other day, and I saw that. I don't know what game that was that he was showing off, but when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, this is like kind of cool. And then I was like watching like little kids in like a Final Fantasy Kingdom Hearts kind of game, and but like there was so much color and vibrant to it, and I was actually like really surprised by the game. I was like, I actually like this game is probably gonna come out like a year or two from now. But I was like, I actually want to play this game so bad. I don't know what it was, and I was like, this is like a great like showcase of the game, probably at like a games like kind of like convention. But I really liked it for no reason. It was probably a game I would have never looked at unless I saw that video on YouTube. It like dragged me in. But I don't even know what it's called. I would love to look. I would love to find it actually.
'Cause I'm
But
trying to find it right now. I'm interested now. If you're hearing that.
Yeah, I remember we
right,
put it somewhere. I don't know where the hell it went.
it's in one of the chats. But anyways, well I'll just keep going. But like one of the games I want to say that this is the case. Like I want to say like because like that's like a good example of like social media being done well, even though it's not really so much social media, but like YouTube is a form of media now, and that content creation where you put it towards. But instead,
Found it.
I wanted to showcase like Cyberpunk.
It's called
I want
Doki V.
Doki V. Okay,
Doki
so
V.
right, so that game looked amazing for like out of control nowhere. It just was really like interesting to watch the trailer for, and I liked it a lot.
Cool.
But it see like that's what cool looks like, right? Now a game like Cyberpunk, I want to say is like it looks really cool too, and they hyped it up out of proportions to the point that like it was supposed to be the best game of like all time, especially from an RPG element genre like CD Projekt Red when they made
It's Witcher 3, right?
The Witcher, any of the Witcher games, like Witcher 3, Witcher 2. Like if you were like in a really long time ago, like I would say like Dragon Age, like those were like
Wait,
really
they
good
made
games.
Dragon. They're the ones who made Dragon Age. Wait, I didn't know this.
I think they made Dragon Age. I'm pretty sure they had a part in Dragon Age. It's either EA did. Um, I'll look it up right now. I
I
think
don't know. It wasn't EA.
on no EA I think had a portion to do. Let me
Maybe
see.
published, if anything.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Honestly, but besides that though, um,
All right, John.
when it came to
Quick tutorial
Cyberpunk,
on Jax. E Q, yeah, whatever.
yeah, you press E, and you do this with the helicopter spin.
How do you
So no,
play Ari into Yasuo?
Just E
say back,
him. Just E
say
him when he
back.
dives in.
Should I go corrupting pot or tier?
I like corrupting potion because it lets you lane better. Tier's like a scaling thing, and Yasuo might not let you like get so much. If you like mess up a bit, like you want like sustain to get through your lane.
Yeah.
But anyways,
LeBlanc, I should have.
it's fine. I mean, LeBlanc's like a 50-50 lane too. But Ari, I think you're much safer in it because you'll play back. You're gonna play back, but like LeBlanc, you need to like kind of be on them. But in regards of let's say Cyberpunk, right? So Cyberpunk was extremely overhyped on all means of social media, all forms of media itself, like like TV ads, anything on the internet you could probably find. There was so much forced marketing to drown you in this idea of Cyberpunk and the world that was gonna be Cyberpunk
I mean,
2077.
literally Keanu Reeves. Like, come on.
Yeah, and then like a celebrity highlighting it too in a game like that also really. I mean, like Keanu Reeves being like a main character in the story too really drives up like what players would want to see, where like they can connect to some kind of like real life measure
Oh, the
with their.
Wait, I must the Yasuo's scared of Keelan. What the hell?
Why? What?
Well,
Maybe
Ari
just play safe.
does just play. If you play safe, you kind of do counter him. Also, he also I think he likes the new Ari skin. That's another reason why.
But,
I'm not allowed to say the bad word, but he's that.
Which one?
Coward.
The H word.
A human?
A human?
No.
It's alright. Anyways, so when they held up the game, I want to say, right? Because like that's like the thing with their game. I liked what they did when they explained that they had to hold up the game, and that's what like companies need to do with social medias, especially. And Cyberpunk did it, where they're like, we need to hold this game up a bit. Was it Cyberpunk that did this, right? They held it up once, I think, or twice, correct?
They held it up multiple times. Like then they
Right,
they post on Twitter like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to delay the game or whatever. Like they would send out a message or
right.
something.
But you know who else is doing this now, though, too? I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure Halo is the one that's doing this, right? Isn't Halo
They
game?
delayed it once, but it hasn't been delayed since. So
Right.
Now
But
they're scheduled to come out in December, right? December something.
yeah,
They
something
gave
like that. I mean, a lot of games are like that, though. Like one of the games I was trying to play recently, New World. Like I bought the game, and they let you play the beta for about like a week or two. I forget, and I really liked it. It was just like a different alternative to like a game like WoW or like Final Fantasy 14, where it was just like more like realistic and like in like not really like cartoonish. But when I looked at like we were like me and a couple of like buddies of mine were really hyped about it, and then we were like, because the whole idea like some of us like really like PvP in our like MMOs, so the way they showcased it, whereas like in the game at least it's really cool, but the only issue is that they delayed the game I think by a month or 2 months now. I think
They delayed it a lot. It was
but
bad.
they delayed it. We were supposed to have a September release, and then I want to say due to like just probably like the game needing more time to like, especially after a beta run through where player feedback gets involved now too, and then like how they can change the game, make it better. That kind of like drags out a lot more, right? And like it needs to like saturate with the developers, and then like they can like work on the game harder, make sure it comes out in like 100% the way the players kind of want it. Because in reality, in a game like that, mind you don't have to like pay monthly or anything for this game, but like you would want like consistent player bases, because otherwise once you lose your player base, the game kind of like falls apart. But especially in the MMO genre, because like a lot of the MMOs are dying, or like the big ones are like World of Warcraft is like dying and like has lost like half its player base since for like the longest time.
Yeah, and the unmentionable.
And then like the rest of the I mean there's like so many different things. Like
Yeah,
the
well,
company
that's for a later episode.
the company itself is just like struggling to kind of like gain back the player base it's had for their games. The only one that it really has done it well with is just the Activision portion of it, where they have like Warzone being the big highlight for them, and like I want to say like a bit of COD was like in it too. I mean, like COD gets like their big releases, so the player base wants to come back to it. But like again, let's say like WoW, it takes like I want to say like half a year for them to do a content update or something.
Oh, okay, that's pretty bad. Jesus.
It takes a really long time for them to make a content update, because they want you to because essentially they want you to stay in the game and kind of like drag out its lifespan for like a year or two, and then they do an expansion. Like after a year, not a year, but like after like 2 or 3 years, they'll do another expansion, and that's like kind of been the format with their games so far. But I don't know, like between like a lot of like the drama within the company, a lot of like their personal Twitters getting involved in actually like trying to down talk a lot of the Twitch content creators that are on, and like influencers of like that, like they're big influencers for their game.
Oh, like the guy you were talking about.
Right. So the guy Asmongold is like the really big head of I want to say like the WoW community. Like there's like Method is like one of them. It's like a team they have. Like that's like if you want to talk about like the esports team related to like WoW and stuff, like Method is one of them. And like they have like a lot of people who like stream the game on Twitch. But if you really want to talk about like one person that's not associated with a team really and like stands out amongst the rest, Asmongold is the guy that you kind of like see. And the thing with him is that when he was getting bored of WoW, I mean, and I think that's like a point where like everyone gets bored of a game, especially if there's like nothing positively going well in the case of the game. But like his impact in the community and in the game development process is so great. Like it's so like he can kind of like curve it to whatever way he really wishes if he wants to. And this has happened because at one point, um, the WoW devs were watching as he was kind of dragging his community with him to the Final Fantasy 14 community, and the WoW devs, I'm pretty sure on their means of social media and stuff, they kind of like started really pushing for like the patch that they're supposed to get like 6 months in, like 4 or 5 months in, whatever the case is. So like they're trying to like keep up against their competitors because now that you see that your main source of like viewership for the company is now being like slowly drifting away and going towards something that they prefer more because it's like it's a different taste of life.
Yeah.
It definitely kind of like is a shocker for the company that they have to make these decisions, but they have to do them for like the right reason to retain customers. So doing stuff like that is like important. And I want to say like the idea of like the communication maybe between like these players and developers, like you can kind of see it, like these players are like really leaning towards their influencer like counterparts as opposed to like really want like, and some, not, this is not always the case, like some games are like you can see players and devs like really working, or you can see like the bond between players and devs in a lot of like games that I would say so far. I think like one of them of like recent times, maybe like in an indie game would be like Valheim. I want to say like Valheim is a really good one at this because Valheim was doing a lot of.
They were doing a lot of updates like recently.
Doing
right?
a lot of updates.
They just had a big one. They announced that what was it called? The new thing from Jeff Keighley.
Right. Everything there like kind of gets like, but like I think it was only like one dev at one point, but like the passion for a game like Valheim ends up kind of dragging in way more and more people to the project, and like that person just just being a normal human being on like a Twitter and showcasing other people's like content that they've been like love passions for this game, and that's what like a community really thrives in, I feel like, and it makes it outstanding. And that's like good communities come from good social media, I want to say. But like this is not always the case. Like I'll say like Riot Games has like a very toxic community based on their game, but that's because it's a competitive game, right?
Yeah.
But now there's like other games out there that like you get like a better dive into. I know Caitlin was talking about this earlier at one point, and like the ARG elements, and like the whole. I'm not entirely sure what it was about. I feel like you'd be able to explain it more than I would be able to, but I know you showed this video about this thing. What was NeuroCam? And I've never heard of NeuroCam before, but it seems interesting. I mean, it's a half an hour video on the topic, but
there's a lot of things that do that.
Okay, so I could explain that one. That was an actually very interesting one. So these billboards started popping up, and I think it led to like some website, and it ended up being this guy trying to get his PhD, and it was like this social experiment.
Okay. I mean, that's really cool.
I thought it was a really cool thing. Maybe some people thought it was like a really bad build-up, but I thought it was a really cool build-up, honestly.
Right, okay. I mean,
I think it's a creative way, but it must have cost like a lot of money to do so.
Yeah,
wait, so
definitely.
So the whole point was just to showcase someone's like eventually getting their degree.
It was to write an essay for his assignment. I would watch with yours top side.
Oh well, she just whiffed her ult. That's funny. She actually just whiffed her ult.
But I'm surprised about that though. Like I did not know that was the case. I mean, like hearing about that sounds really good. Yeah, it would cost a lot of money if you're doing a lot of social media.
You must have a lot of money to do that.
Definitely.
But what was it on though? It was in this is in like
on billboards.
Yeah, I would say it costs a bit. I don't know how much a billboard costs to like put your advertising into. Yeah, it's something. I think it's
it's like you gotta keep it up. I think, right?
I'm actually curious. I'm gonna Google that really
Is
fast.
there renting
How much does
session for it?
a
It's
bill?
it's not-
How much does a billboard cost?
Like tens of thousands of dollars, I think, just for
Oh,
one.
a physical billboard costs average of $750 to $1,500 per month in rural areas, and then there's like mid to small city-sized ones, 1,500 to 2,000, 14,000 and up in larger markets. Digital billboards can cost over $15,000.
Oh my god.
Depending on the location. So this person, if they were like, this is probably like he only had like enough time to do this for a month. I would assume, because if he had
Probably.
more, unless he was using these smaller ones.
No,
Yeah,
it was the big ones.
really.
Like the display boards you see on like the Jersey Turnpike.
Right.
Those
That's
types.
like you. Well, I feel like on those it would be like for like a car dealership though. That's like usually what I always would see, or for like an insurance company. It was always the case on those billboards. So I'm actually kind of curious to see what Times Square would be a cost for. Wow. Okay, that's nuts. So it actually costs you 1.1 and 4 million a year to buy advertising space in Times Square. So within 1.1 million to $4 million a year to buy ad space in Times Square,
Oh my god.
which is kind of crazy. And it's saying a billboard could cost for a day, starting 5,000 and goes to up to well over 50,000. I mean, it's actually insanely. Or I'm seeing this one. It can moreover cost up to 3 million per month to advertise on Times Square's largest billboard.
What? Oh my god. How do
So-
these?
Yeah, that's really.
How this
I
guy
would never know.
afford it for his PhD, but kudos to him.
I mean, I give him credit. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not imagining him to go on a Times Square billboard and do this, but like, he definitely had his means and methods to do it. Maybe he had money. Who knows, right?
You got money to spare? Go nuts. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
you never
why
know.
not?
But
Well, at least this
I think that's really cool. I liked it a lot. I had something I was gonna say and I just forgot what it was. But it was about this in some way, shape, or form. It's gonna take me a second to remember, but it definitely feels like. Oh, you know what it was to me? It was like interesting advertising. That's what it was, or like interesting, like yeah, like an interesting form of like advertising or like marketing in sense. Because like if that's like what it was for someone's PhD, right? There was one I saw, and I don't know if I talked about this before, but there's one I saw, and I was actually learning about it from a mentorship program's like education class they had, and it was showcasing a Netflix TV series that I'm not gonna remember the name off the top of my head, but most people use AdBlock, correct? If I asked you guys, do you use AdBlock?
Yeah.
Right. All right. So both of you say yes.
Well, Paul is YouTube Premium, so I guess I can.
I use
Okay.
it. I use it in general. Even
Ad
Well,
block?
I'm gonna say not YouTube. Like I'm gonna say this in my end. Like I still have this. Like I mean I used AdBlock to avoid having ads on YouTube, and now they have been getting past my AdBlock. I think, but it's on my phone. That's why.
no, yeah, now
Um,
they got past the phone ones easily.
Anyways, so the AdBlock I have from a Google Chrome extension would be a case of this.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this advertising was that they reached out to the ads to like the people who own the ad space online. If you have your ad block on, you can see this advertising, but other people can't. You would get normal advertising if you didn't have the ad block on. And what you'd see is this this advertising that was specifically made targeted towards people who had their ad blocks. And it was to showcase the Netflix series, and it was a huge success in regarding of what they did. And it's actually like hysterical about how like that can happen. But that's just like one really interesting one they did. I think there's another interesting one they did at one point too, But it was more for like Amazon, I think. And in terms
There's
of
an
like,
Amazon ARG.
no, I'm not like they had, um, I don't know, like an augmented reality game or like in that regard of it, but it was more or less like how they made like Cheerios like the top cereal at one point, I think.
Wait,
And
what?
it was like if you like bought enough, you were getting a free box of Cheerios, I think, sent to you. So like everyone wants to reach, you know, on Amazon Prime Day, the whole point is that like you spend more. Like everyone's gonna spend so much on Amazon Prime Day because of all the great deals, and like Cheerios would just give you a free box as long as you spent over a certain limit, and that's what like makes the turnover rate. And now that everyone's having Cheerios, and somehow there's people out there who don't have Cheerios. They've never had Cheerios in their life, right? So once they get exposed to a brand like that, it ultimately gives them. And if they really like it, they go back and they go to their local supermarket and they go buy Cheerios now. So the idea of it's very interesting in terms of like how stuff like that actually really works out and how they kind of showcase that. I like that a lot. I mean, I prefer the ad one because the ad one is really deep dived into like focusing on a major group of people, and no one really targeted that market or that audience of people who definitely have ad block because you can't really target them anymore. And that's the secret now that you just did. They have no issue. They have no choice but to see your ad. That was like really out there and kind of like interesting to me. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. Like, I feel like that's what like Cyberpunk could have done, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't.
You know what? They do a lot. You know what it is like in their game. In their game, it's a lot of very suggestive, advertising, and it's very like shocking. But that's what I feel like makes that game very like outstanding in a sense, because no other game is gonna do what that game has ever done. It's basically just GTA, but in the future. I mean,
Not gonna
that's how
lie.
you can really see it. It's
I'm
a
not gonna
very
lie, there were
first-person
people
GTA.
there and they could have stopped that.
Like, even to this day, I think like after they were like giving out like their refunds and stuff from that game, like only like 50,000 people want a refund, and that's
And
like
there was
nothing.
like millions of people who pre-ordered too.
I didn't pre-order it, but I bought it. I knew that like everyone's pre-ordering this game though. The thing that was interesting though with that game too is that they had a lot of game journalists that were like, because game journalists I want to say are like influencers too now, right? So
Okay, yeah.
you have all these game journalist influencers that are talking about the game to a sense. I think it's more not like it, I think real game journalists wouldn't have done this, but you have like the ones that are coming from like actual newspaper like companies and forms of media like in that regard, and they have to kind of go with their with what the company essentially only wanted them to see, because that's what the company was only trying to hide. They were trying to hide a lot of stuff for that game because a lot of things were wrong. Like they didn't fully develop, they didn't fully fix all the bugs for the game. And I don't know because I played through it and it's such a buggy mess. But a real game like journalist, like influencer that has like a big following would have been like, if they could have, they would have been like, yeah, game's not all that like meant up to be. It's really bad. It's a nightmare. Like, but the media in a sense like kind of like controls how that flow comes out. Well, not really the media, but the game devs and the company itself in the marketing department, they don't want you to know that, right? So they withhold all that information that they can showcase how bad the game was going to be, and people bought into it, but like so many people just didn't care enough to get out. I mean, I don't know how many there was on like other consoles, but I mean in the PC gamer group, like, which is what I was a part of, like a lot of people didn't refund their game, especially like me. Like if the game was much more polished, like I might play it again, but like the damage was done essentially for the time. But I think that's like the case too for a lot of these social media areas. Like once the damage is done, it's done. Like there's not really much catching up that you can have and recovery that once your your game has like a really bad like marketing or advertising kind of aspect that they just don't hit right. And Cyberpunk did a really good job of bringing people in, but they did a really bad job of like kind of like upholding the company's reputation for CD
Yeah.
Projekt Red, and that sucks. And like, it just goes to show you how like you need to kind of like aim your game towards like what people really want, right? And that's where like feedback is great. Getting feedback in that really showcases like how to improve a game based on someone who like gave genuine feedback that is like very positive and it can be looked upon. And at the end of the day, just being a game dev out there, you just gotta like kind of like roll the punches and just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like especially with its
Right.
like I mentioned before, like how many times did I mention before how many times it got delayed that people were literally taking off because of it being delayed and everything.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, you know what? That's the case. I was gonna say that's the case with like WoW Classic. When WoW Classic was coming out, it was the guy Asmongold was like making a joke about this. He was like, all right, like your wife isn't gonna understand when you tell her why you have to take off 4 weeks to go grind in WoW from a game that you played 15 years ago. But like that's the impact a game like that had 15 years ago and nostalgia. And then
Eh.
they really pumped it out. Now the thing with Blizzard though is that they also pumped out the first expansion again, and they really made. They wanted to like kind of. I want to be like they milked like they milked the consumer base, but they kind of did because everyone was gonna play the game with the first like. WoW in the very original iteration was like a game people might like their first. Some people's first ever game they were playing, right?
Yeah.
Now you have the update to the first game they're ever playing, and apparently the game gets like way better, right? And in my case, like I was playing through it, it did.
Udyr
It got,
just
like,
soloed the Baron. I'm afraid.
I'll just solo the Baron.
No, that was Udyr who did it.
Are you sure?
Yes, it was only Udyr. Because he's right there. He's about to beat you up. And then I beat him up.
but that's just like the kind of thing they have.
I'm popping off. I'm popping off so hard. I just got a triple. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm clicking buttons. And I win the game. Ow.
Oh, they just lost Baron anyway.
Yeah, except for Ezreal. Ezreal still has it.
Ezreal's not really gonna impact that.
Oh, I don't have mana. I'm sad.
But yeah, so like when the company was like offering out like $40 for like a bundle essentially where like you get like a character boost.
Why is he so deep? Oh, that's why he's winning.
Maybe.
Alright.
But the old school WoW, like it takes me a long time to get to like the end game and have like the real like interesting like player based challenges and like fun that can be there, and not like the journey of like meeting new people along the way, making friends and like community like that kind of aspect. But they kind of like trivialized it for like the people who are already at the end, and they
Yeah.
made it so you could just buy your way into the max level again and then just play through the new stuff, like all the new content they were gonna re-release. And I'm pretty sure like
Put a ward, someone.
most people did it.
Someone put a ward.
There is a ward
Where?
right here.
Why is it there? I meant like in the actual pit.
TP there.
But
was-
yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of games that just like have really interesting like social medias and such.
Yeah.
They kind of like stand out. I don't really like. I feel like in my case, I might not know as like much as you guys would though. I feel like some of your games like have very like interesting like.
A lot of the Western, not Western, Japanese games have like that.
I was
type
gonna say
stuff.
like maybe like what about like Genshin Impact? I know like a large community of people out there like are really into Genshin Impact.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who play that.
Do they like showcase like bundles and stuff? Is that like what they use like maybe their social media for to like showcase things on that regard?
Not that I.
Live streams for every patch.
Oh, they do have a live stream for every patch?
For every patch that comes out, which is like every month and a half, they do it.
Okay, so that at least, but like that shows you like they're getting in touch with their community, right?
Yeah.
You have depth in like player base, and they're like trying to make that connection that like which you need, because in that game it's a very like um I would say like you can get kind of like burnt out from it and like doing the daily grind stuff that might be in Genshin Impact at the end, or
Yeah.
like to get your characters to the max level, or to get them to have the best gear possible.
Yeah.
So being able to kind of like give them like an up, like a hey, like do they do buff and nerfs in that game?
I honestly don't know. I hear people joking about like, oh, buff this character, nerf this character.
Wait,
But
they
I
don't.
know
Wait,
if
they actually don't. I thought they did. Wait, what?
The new character Kokomi sounds like absolute garbage, honestly, even though people still want to wish for her, and I'm like, you're kind of wasting your money if she's not going to impact the game as much.
They want cute anime women. Let them have them.
All she is pretty, that's it. That's like the only thing
Well, yeah.
Right,
Gotcha,
right.
game.
she has going
but-
for her.
But with
But
the game,
I thought she was going to be like a nice DPS, but she's not. She's like this catalyst healer, but Barbara is much better in my opinion as a healer. Oh my god.
Why are we standing in her ult, guys? Oh, he misses ult. Pike misses ult.
Yasuo's taking our base.
We can take it faster than you guys go. I'm gonna push.
but yeah, I was gonna say like I feel like with Genshin, like they, being that they released a new character, they want you to kind of like
What? What
Get
stopped
into it.
me?
Get hit by a minion.
right. Would you say that like the biggest thing that they kind of get out of the game is you spending a lot of your money to like get rolls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when they make a new character, like they
Oh my god,
really,
this Udyr attacks so fast. That's terrifying. Never mind, I'm not fighting that man.
I might actually. I'm kind of curious. I'm gonna look that up right now while I have the chance, because I'm
They
actually
have
wondering.
buffs in there.
Well, not buffs and nerfs, but like how much they make. I want to say like when a new character drops, right? How much does Genshin Impact make a day? That's good enough. Make a day.
Yeah, that works.
So it's saying, wow. There's no way.
Who's here?
This might be out of date.
What was it? What does it say?
This is okay. This is somewhat not out of. I mean, this is like 6 months behind us, but this is like pretty interesting. Every time Genshin Impact releases a new character, it makes at least 12 million in a single day. That's what I'm saying.
What?
Oh,
That is
they
what I'm
made
reading.
millions.
So, and then I'm saying Genshin Impact is the fastest game to reach 1 billion in revenue, and its characters are why. And then it goes from there to kind of like showcase like how, being that it's a because it's also a mobile game, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's
you
mobile
have-
and PC.
Oh, and then they actually have a showcase of the characters and the character revenue they have here. So like Zhongli
Oh,
was a
Zhongli?
Zhongli was 15.5 million on December
What
1st,
the- are you
2020.
What is this?
And you have Albedo, which is a 9.1 mil. Yeah, so 9.1 million, December 23rd, 2020. So that's 22 days later, right? Within the same amount of time, really. Then you have Ganyu with a 14.8 million, January 13th, 2021. Zhao, 15.1
Guys.
million.
Guys! Are you kidding me?
Right, 15.1 million on Zhao, February 3rd, 2021. And they kind of like did it like every month afterwards. it
Oh
seems
my
like.
god, this is not worth it.
It was
And then-
worth it. What do you mean?
Then you have Hu Tao with the 12.9 million. So they make a lot of money. But I feel like, is there like a thing with tier lists? Would you say, like, if these characters are like really high in the tier list, they might actually just be like the ones that you're trying to spend more money into?
I think
it's
so.
kind of all about character design at this point with this fan base.
I mean, they're all exactly the same. I watched a video on it. All the characters look exactly the same, just different costumes. In reality,
Okay, so in reality, it's just like, well, they have like different abilities and such, right?
sort of. I'm go-
Yeah.
So like at that point, maybe you're really just going out of your way to get characters because they have better abilities and such.
Wait, you guys didn't follow the drag?
No, our entire base got destroyed.
You only need one of them there. There's a Elder
Well, I
Draw.
was there, but I guess misfortune. I can't do anything. Like, I'm actually useless.
So like that's what really stands out to me is how much money they make off of a character, and like maybe that's like a social media thing. Like they showcase these characters off and how cool they might be, and that's what like really gets the cake. If they make a really interesting character, right? Like a lot of people want to like jump the gun and get that character. I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the case. Like so, the power of social media really just shows you how they really just grab. Like you can be grabbed and pulled into the video game industry.
You're not gonna talk about that new character Ball that came out. Everyone's going nuts about her.
Oh, actually, when she's combined with certain characters for elemental reactions, her damage is insane. I have her, and she does at least 10k, and she's only level 40, and her talents aren't even leveled up that much. Like, her talents are still level 1.
Jeez.
So,
To me, yeah, it's crazy, right?
well, I mean, is she an Archon? I guess you could consider her like an Archon, so like, basically the god of Electro.
Right. So maybe like her damage numbers are meant to represent her like actual in-game lore.
Yeah.
But at least then like the devs are doing something right then, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And they're making her representative in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's cool. I like that. And honestly,
people really enjoyed the new, like, story quest for her, which I was very surprised because I got bored with some of them, but that one was very interesting.
right.
They're starting to get, like, really into lore, and I like it. Why is there a word in that?
That kind of, okay, that actually is like funny too if you say that, because like this game's been out for what now, a year now,
Think like
right?
like over a year.
Over a year maybe.
Since September, November 2020? I don't know. Oh no.
Okay, but in my like this is like a funny thing I can like explain a bit more too.
Oh my God,
So like I'm about to like jump on WoW again, but so WoW was originally just a game based on the gameplay, and they were really just doing the gameplay aspect of it, where a lot of the player base doesn't really care about the story, because there's like story, but you have to really like read the text and like kind of like go looking for that story, but
Yeah, this is very interactive.
right, like yeah, you get like more interactive like gameplay elements, like kind of like yeah, exactly though. Like you have to like interact and find your way for the lore. Now
Yeah.
if they're like kind of like feeding you the lore, it's a bit more interesting because that's kind of what WoW did at one point. WoW started to make cinematics and stuff to really showcase lore in the game, and even for like the content that you were gonna be like facing and overcoming within like raid patches and stuff. They would show like little cinematics for that patch. One of them, and I remember this being the case in like Wrath of the Lich King, which is the second expansion they ever did, where the big one they showcase is that they go to fight the big bad villain of that expansion, which is the Lich King, and they're like it's like both factions in WoW, and they're at the gate. They're gonna go fight him, and then like everything goes wrong. It all like, but like you as a character, and you and your raid party essentially is gonna go like finish off the major evil of like this expansion, and pretty much do the final patch and do the raid and all of its content that kind of like comes with it too. So it was really interesting. Like they kind of like do that. They kind of like not like force feed you it. Like it's there, and like eventually WoW started to force feed you the lore because people started caring about the lore more, and they wanted to see how their favorite characters were doing in the game. But I feel like gameplay always should come first before lore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really what matters more in the case. I mean, I was gonna say the case with like Psychonauts 2 is like one of the games that like has a very interesting lore to gameplay aspect, since the game has been like
Yeah, because it just came out the second one, and everyone goes
Yeah.
going crazy over it because it's really good.
it's a really good game, and it took 15 years to play, or like to get to the second sequel, um, or the first this major sequel that they were coming out with, the Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
And in the game, they even like showcased like the funny, like how like much of a delay there ever was to making the second game that was probably never supposed to be the case.
Yeah, they
Or
make like
the main
they make so many
character,
jokes where it's like, oh, like it's been such a while since we've seen each other. It's like we saw each other like 2 days ago.
yeah,
Because like the
exactly.
first game only takes place over like 3 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then they just go right to the next game, and then they have their like little spin-off game in the meantime. But that was a VR game.
Wait, they had a spin off.
And-
Wait, I want to see a spin. Wait, huh?
We have to go to.
They have a VR game that they did.
What?
it
I've never
was-
seen this before.
It's in the lore. It's right after they get into like the very end of the first Psychonauts. I mean, it's been such a long. I mean, the game's out for so long, but they get into like the jet to go back to the headquarters, which is where the Psychonauts 2 takes place. At like the HQ of all the psychonetic people. And when you're flying to go to the next, like when
John,
you're flying over,
Elder or Baron? What's better?
Should we trade
it
Baron for
depends.
We might
I-
need Baron because we're down to our inhibs.
I think Baron helps you keep the game alive.
Then we need to contest Baron. We have a ward there, so
But if you
We
like
can't
straight up,
contest defend. All right, so we're just gonna give this like.
we need to. We can only contest one of them because there's Elder and Elder Drake up.
see the issue is like when you start, if they like,
All right, well they
nuke
took the
one-
Elder already, so
if
I
you
don't
don't
know
get,
why we weren't doing Baron.
so then
This is so
yeah,
stupid.
you have to like in that case in the game, you have to just make a choice. Like, do you contest the other team to wipe them and then get the other, like to get their objective and then probably get the other objective too, or even end the game? Or you just trade objectives and then you just delay the game by another like 5 minutes. It's like really dumb. The choice
We
that you
should
have to
have been
make.
at Baron. We should have been at Baron. I don't know what they were thinking.
oh, she just got a Quadra. What even?
Yeah.
Okay.
We should have been at Baron. I don't know what they were doing.
I mean, it's just a learning experience though for like. what
Yeah,
you guys,
no shot. I gotta
better-
defend somehow.
Unless you can't really. I mean,
I was the only one alive. I had to defend somehow, so I was like, well, I could. You a little late, bro. I'm a little late, bro. I was taking out the Ezreal. And
it's alright. It's just one game. It doesn't truly change how you will play as a player in like future games. But like maybe you get like the learning experience of like, okay, like if you had to make a choice for 2 objectives.
I don't think she should have went Shirley. She would have went Moon.
yeah, I don't know. Which one's Shirley.
It was just like no.
I think she gotta chase Udyr because Udyr was the main problem that game. Because I couldn't 1v1 him at all. He just punches really hard.
Shouldn't have focused the Udyr though. That's the thing.
He was the main problem because Yasuo was not a problem. We killed him, no problem. Alawi, if you stayed in her ult, was a problem.
But it's a learning experience for you guys. But that's just that's at the end
That
of the
was
day.
I think that was a fine game. It's just that we lost late game.
Yeah, I mean that's just what might happen.
Should have just rotated to Baron because we probably would have finished Baron by then.
Probably.
But they didn't
But-
want to contest.
Yeah.
We
All right.
weren't contesting anything. We were literally getting Baron.
Well, back to the podcast stuff. What were we talking about?
I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There was like a lot of topics that we just talked about in the course of that one game.
Yeah, it's true. There was one more thing I wanted to mention: the ARG thing. Back when Cold War they were teasing it. So usually Cold War like a Call of Duty every year you would get like the usual announcement like May or June or whatever. Treyarch was like no. If you want the trailer you gotta go find it yourself. And then we're like, what do you mean find it yourself? Then they released like entire websites, entire codes that they made, all these ciphers and stuff to dig through, and you had to go play Warzone to go figure out the code to go. It was so
Wait,
weird.
I'm sorry. They wanted you to play Warzone.
You
figure it out?
had to play Warzone and do the codes on this website.
But
In order-
did you
in order-
realize real-life elements? Like, did you have to go physically outside and?
Oh, okay, so that is only for like YouTubers and influencers, whenever they have an influencer, they will literally send them like some crazy thing, be like, oh, here's the next teaser for the next game, good luck, go figure it out yourself. They will give them they will literally give them like instructions and be like, here's how you do it, go ahead.
Okay, so that was the ARG element. I thought it was like a lot of people
No,
doing it together.
I would, but everyone was doing it online, like trying to figure it out with the codes and stuff. But the real life stuff, that was up to the influencers. Like they would live stream it for like entire days. Cause I remember I was talking to Sib about it, and I was like, "All right, Sib, we gotta figure this out. Come on, I want that trailer." And we literally, they kept putting pieces to like through like an entire week. The entire teaser was a week long because of it. And then when you finally finished it, for the Cold War at least, it wasn't even a teaser you got. It said, oh yeah, here's the release date for the teaser. I'm like, what do you mean the release date for the teaser?
I'm actually curious. If I look up the Black Ops Cold War, finding out the release date.
That was a whole thing. What else is there? I remember back for Black Ops 3. Yeah, it was Black Ops 4. I don't know if they had anything. I don't remember. I was not a fan of Black Ops 4, so I didn't pay attention. Black Ops 3, they sent like this giant box to like all the influencers, and like, you do not unlock this until this date. And then they unlocked it and had like a bunch of stuff for like the Call of Duty Zombies for the third game.
Right. Okay. But you know what I think though too, like makes a sense for like Cold War, because Cold War is a game essentially beyond like to the point of like a lot of like it's like what CIA, FBI, like all these like intelligence agencies and decrypting codes, like cracking into like networks, you know, like all the like that's like that era, right, of the Cold War.
Yeah.
So like that's why they probably did that. And then like the gaming community out there is like smart enough probably to figure out these things. It just takes a while.
Yeah.
So and that's the case in the Cold War too. Like they have those in the campaign, like they literally want you to crack puzzles in the story
yeah.
for like side missions that they let you do, which is like interesting. So I give it credit for all the stuff.
Okay.
Oh, this is a good matchup. This is good.
But honestly, at that point, I'm not even so sure what else to say. I mean, I think we really did cover a lot.
Oh wait, I remember another thing at the real life element they did for the Cold War. They sent like an actual like 1970s, like, all right, here's a 1970s projector that we just found for like they sent it to everyone. Like, all right, each of you're all getting a projector and you're getting some slides, communicate with each other to get the slides to work. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Where'd they even find these things? They were literally
smart.
ancient.
It's smart. I mean, it just goes to show you like they will make content creators work together, or these influencers work together, so that way you can get the information out, and then like you have everyone like, what's the big reveal, right? It's the hype, right? If you make the hype live up to its name, then like it's really up there with the rest. That's just how it is. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I feel like that's really what covers it for this kind of topic. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think so. Also, I got countered by Ash. I feel sad.
That's right. But yeah, any final thoughts, anybody?
No, I think we're all done.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're all good.
I think this topic is like very well done, though. I think, and there's always more to look into. And maybe in my own time, for like a future episode, I might throw something in.
I mean, hey,
Like,
so
to
social
find.
media is constantly growing, so I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I'm just ever curious to see what like the future kind of holds with social media, or what new platform people are going to be like using next.
but yeah, I think we're gonna call it for this episode. A little shorter than usual, but all good. We got everything. All right, so what's our schedule looking like? All right, our schedule next episode on the 17th is gonna be the rise and fall of Call of Duty. First of October, we're gonna talk about the console wars and the PC debate. Then on the October 15th, we got how video games are becoming the norm, and then
They're invading.
oh, they are. And then October 29th, we're gonna talk about the treatment of video game employees with all the different companies that's out there. So that's it for this week. Those are our upcoming episodes. Hopefully, we don't have anything crazy like that storm again. We can get it out on time. Sorry about that again. But for now, we'll see you guys in the next time and call it an episode, guys. Good night,
Yep, see you
everybody.
guys. Yep, good night, guys.
Good night.